Now we have a panel discussion on new trends in programmatic advertising. In this session, we will be diving deep into understanding and analyzing insights on meaningful programmatic advertising backed by content and context, and how first-party data helps marketers attain better ROI. I would like to invite Ishank Joshi, CEO, Mob Avenue, to moderate the discussion. Over to you, Mr. Joshi.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's panel discussion. My name is Ishank. I'm the CEO for Mob Avenue. Great to have everyone here, especially our esteemed panelists. Just a quick introduction, about myself. I'm the CEO of Mob Avenue. We are a 360-degree growth platform. We work with close to around 75 plus advertisers and brand partners across India, SEA, Latin, and Russia. Today's platform, we are discussing about new trends of programmatic media, and this will be talking around content, context, and data. I would really urge everyone, all of our esteemed panelists to introduce themselves. So we can start off with, maybe with Vinita. Vinita, if you could start off with a quick introduction about you, followed by Arpit, Setu, Apaksh, and Tabrez, that would be great.
Sure. Hi, Shank. Hi, everyone. This is Vinita here, Vinita Pathak. I come from an entertainment, media and entertainment industry with almost around 15 plus of an experience. Chingari that happened in 2018, and again, it was all sitting with the chai and thinking what to do and next kya karna hai. So this thought came up, and eventually, the tech team came, and the media team came, the entertainment team, and that's how it was formed. And suddenly, with all the don't want to get into those things, but yes, the kind of team effort that was put into it, and right now Chingari is where Chingari is.
Yes, amazing. I think great, Vinita. Great to have you, from a lot of experience, and then working to a very young company which is Chingari, and building it into a emerging short video platform. Great to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
Arpit,
yeah, sure. Hey, hi everyone. Pleasure to be here. So this is Arpit Awasthi. I come with around 9 to 10 years of experience in digital marketing and growth marketing, primarily at startups, cutting across different industries. So I've worked with e-commerce, real estate, media and entertainment, and now it's gaming. So I'm currently working at MPL, which stands for Mobile Premier League. It's a multi-game platform hosting 70 plus games, and we are present over 3 countries right now: India, Indonesia, and we have recently launched US as well 6 months back.
Perfect. Great.
But yeah, interesting time in the gaming.
Interesting time. I think a lot of things changed in last 24 months, post the pandemic, and I wish we continue to see MPL growing. I'll take it with Apaksh. Apaksh, a quick one from you, followed by Setu and Tabrez. Yeah.
Thanks, Ashank. Hey, everyone. Firstly, thank you very much for having me here. Thanks, Ashank, for the invitation. I'm Apaksh. I'm the founder and CEO of One Impression. Started One Impression back in 2017. We were one of the early players in the market. So we're an influencer marketing platform. We work with about 320 odd brands, so to say. Everyone from a Unilever, Nestle to D2C brands to lots of edtech, fintech, gaming companies. We were a platform with about 6.5 million influencers around the world. India's about 2.8 million. We work with everyone, big and small. I think one of the rare few companies to have grown tremendously in a bootstrapped fashion so far. So lucky to have done that. And that's
a tough thing to do.
No, we've had a great time, and thanks to folks like you, Ishank, who've always been advocates for us. Thank you so much.
Amazing, amazing. Thanks, Apaksh, and I think great platform to be built in. Setu, I think, great to have you. A quick introduction.
Hi everyone, I'm Setu. I look after products at Go Mechanics, and my previous background has been in products and growth. I joined Go Mechanics 2 years back. As some of you might know, Go Mechanics is a three-sided marketplace. So there's car owner one side, there's workshop on the other, and then there are spares vendors on the third side. So we connect car owners with workshops and spares vendors with all of these three people. So I primarily look after this. This is not something new, right? This has been going on. There are a lot of roadside workshops. There are a lot of roadside retailers. There are all kinds of OEM and OES brands. What we're trying and doing is we are trying to digitize and we are trying to make it tech enabled. We are trying to make it easier for people to place their car services order. We are trying to make it easier for people to understand what sort of issues they have in their car. Maybe making it sensor driven. We are trying to sort of digitize the journey of ordering a spare part. So what we are trying and doing is we are trying to add a digital layer on what was primarily a very, very offline industry. So that's probably what I'm up to. I also look after a little bit of growth initiatives at Go Mechanics, and lovely to be here with you all. Thank you.
Great to have you, Setu, and so many different backgrounds, and pleasure to have you here. Tabrez, yes, great.
Yeah, thank you so much. Hi everyone. This is Tabrez Alam. I come from varied background with 21 years of experience under the belt. I head the entire data strategies for them as a chief data and strategy officer. And we're just trying to, be the first conversation media platform. And what we aim to become is basically, we have a mission of enriching the day-to-day conversations on smartphones, making it much more expressive, personal, smart, anything which is around typing, content, languages, voice, camera, everything bundled into a key tag. And that's what we want to achieve. Now, out of those conversations, what we can derive as in data dynamics is something I'm working upon, which we can talk later, but this is about me.
Great, Tabrez. I think great to see you at Bobble. I mean, Bobble, I know from almost a decade back when, Ankit dropped out of the college and, we were friends and he's just started Touch Talent and then pivoted to Bobble. Great to have you, here, and great to have everyone here. Let me just quickly put some highlight, about today's session. So, from the audience perspective, in today's fast digital advertising world, it's very, very clear that the brands have to be in line to the consumer demands, right? And we all know that the battle for, impressions, click-throughs, performance, it gonna be continue to be more fierce, right? And that's where, it's very, very important today that, to target, audiences with relevant content, which stands out of the crowd, of course, but also in a more contextual manner, right? And that's what today's session is all about, where, panelists like you can tell us your journey respective to your brand, about how we are able to do that and how you are able to achieve those using content, context, and data. Maybe we will start off first with Arpit. Arpit, if you could put, for next 3-4 minutes, how you have been able to use these three, together, and today are able to use across 3 different geographies, around 5 to 6 different products that you have established, and I'm sure the journey would have started from zero.
Yeah, sure. So in my vision, I have an outlook that both content and context have different purposes and different places in a marketer's mind. So content is much more long-term. It has a very strong brand equity attached to it, but at the same time, it's a long-term vision. It's moves slowly and it takes a certain mass to create an impact on the business. So I foresee content as a more of a branding activity. So we have also started investing in a lot of these content creations across different channels, across different social medias and everything. But we also have a huge long-term outlook for that. So it's not like we are aiming and putting it in a quarterly or a monthly plan to get results out of it. It's more like a 6 months to 12 months projects that we are rolling out to create and establish our authorities in certain domains and in certain geographies using contents in a particular strategy in those for those particular products. Whereas when you see contextual, the contextual is, I think, is a quick win. You go after users who are in market, who are looking or searching or reading the content which is closely related to the products and services you are selling. So it's more of a quick win. It is for in-market audiences, and primarily I foresee more of a performance led channel where you can derive better quality acquisitions. You can get to the right users who have the need and the demand for your services right now in the business. Whereas content is much long term. It will be reaching out to users who may not be your current consumers right now, but it may become your users in 1 year down the line or 2 years down the line. And also it has much more longevity as well. Once it is there in the market, it stays there for a very, very long time as well. So it keeps on building that. You keep on building that authority over time once you start using this channel. But yes, like I said, it needs a lot of patience and a lot of time to deliver results out of it. Data, I would say I don't have too much comments on data because data is an integral part of our life. Nothing happens without data, and nothing.
Data is the new oil, right?
It's everywhere. So I don't know what to pinpoint on data because it's a very integral part of a marketer's life. Every decision making, every input that goes back into the system starts from data. But yes, with the recent policy changes as well that are happening, Facebook already implemented it a couple of weeks back. Google has already given its signal that it will be doing in 1 year's time slowly. So yes, it is. We will be taking we'll be going back to ad products and methodologies that we had been using, I think around 3-4 years back. Until unless someone like Tabriz comes up with some other solution which we can use. But right now, if I look at the traditional ways, I think it's going to get much more stringent for advertisers to look at data, especially advertise each and every user-led data. Right. And we might have to find out some proxies to make a way around it.
Got it. But Arpit, from the first party data, how's your experience in using that? And I think a lot of things you could get some insights on that, and when you look at a lot of running campaigns across so many different channels, building content regularly. I mean, we've been seeing MPL content, across so many different channels. How do you look at data from that perspective, and what's the journey behind that? If you could give some limelight on that.
So first party data obviously is a very big gold mine for every business. It gives you a lot of insight on who your users are actually, how are they behaving on your product, and what are the patterns that you can draw out from that data. So that's actually very, very useful in defining our marketing strategies, and especially not just generating insights for your own consumption, but feeding it back into the system. That is the most important thing, because if you don't train your algorithms to work accordingly, it won't start optimizing itself. So yes, in our overall acquisitions, in our overall marketing, first party data is the most important source of information, source of truth for us, and that actually defines the overall strategy for us, for our acquisitions. And primarily it's been almost around 2 years since we have moved completely away from just the regular targetings or interest level and everything. It is all derived from the behaviors that we are seeing on the platform, the kind of users we are getting, and then going after more serious users like that, and improving our conversion funnels accordingly. So it is an important part of our overall day-to-day strategies.
Amazing. Great to see that. Vinita, from your experience in media, and especially from a brand marketing perspective and partnership perspective, now moving towards a short video platform, which is emerging trend. How do you see both content and context is playing a very important role today at Chingari, and also from a perspective that a lot of brands use Chingari today. So what's your take on that?
See, content for short video platform is the key. It's being in the market, the first mover, the innovation, the creativity is the game changer for everything. It's like an influencer has created one video with a hashtag. How far, how viral that video goes, that content, that part I would like to talk about, because data is something, as Arpit also mentioned. I would leave that for the legal crunching. But content for short video platform is the key. From where we start from catering, from tier 2 to tier 3, everybody has their own taste, everybody has their own likes and views. So catering to each and every market in terms of what they like is very crucial for us. You cannot be having send out your creativity and your innovation to that segment of your TG where they are not interested in watching it. So that bifurcation of content is very important when it is coming to a short video platform app. Being on top of the game, and mostly what is important for us is the timeline, where you are approaching somebody at what timeline. You cannot be a deferred or a delayed one. It's you are the one who is reaching your audience first. It's kahan dekha ye video, acha wahan dekha hai, and that's how it catches the fire. It's like, oh, we have already seen it there, it's a dead meat for me. So being at top of the game is very important in the short video platform. Content, the duration might be a 15-second or 20-second or 30-second, irrespective of that. Who has placed it first, where the views have, the audience, the viewers have watched it first. A simple example if I may give is कि एक छोटा सा ट्रेलर भी अगर निकलता है तो कहाँ देखा उसको.
Right.
That platform takes the maximum numbers, the views, the shares, the likes. That's the word of the mouth marketing promotions that has already happened with that. So content wise, yes, you have to be right there, up there, and the first move always takes the cake. That's how we function. Yeah.
But Vinita, from perspective today, Chingari is also a platform, and also they use some of the other platforms, right, to get or syndicate their content even more viral, right? Maybe it is Facebook, maybe Google, or maybe, Snapchat, or some of the other, platforms out there. So how do you see that, right? How when creators create content here and you distribute across a lot of other channels to bring them back to Chingari, how does that work?
See, there are a couple of verticals that you promote your content on, as the Breeze rightly mentioned about the bidding, the programmatic. It's not so much into use currently, but
In India.
yes, it's not, honestly speaking. We are not exploring that side of marketing at all, or maybe we need to enhance and up the game, because still there is a lot of technicality which we need to understand the funnel, how deep that can go into.
Exactly.
But yes, the distribution happens through performance marketing, the distribution happens through cross promotion, the distribution happens through barters, the distribution happens through which platform I would like to be on in terms of key, community, fans, other. I cannot go on a Facebook and promote I don't do that. So my tie-ups would be very focused on the city, the place, the state that I want to get into. I want to penetrate in this community. What is available for me to market my content there, be it irrespective of whatever platform. The first thing I need to understand is the granularity of every platform, how and what data they are giving it to me. Are they catering to my audience, which is 18 to 45, whatever. Every platform, first they ask is, should I be present there? How genuine is this data that is coming to me? It's all out there in the market, but the backend from our side also need to verify those datas. That is where we get into the market when you say the distribution part happens.
Right. Amazing. Thanks, Vinita, putting some light on that. I'll come to Tabrez. Tabrez, I think contextually, Bobble has been doing great job in terms of stickers, or even the data side of it. And data is today a challenge to lot of brands. When we talk to a lot of brands, that's one of the fundamental challenges. And keeping in mind first party going away, first party continues to stay, but the third party going away. Could you put some light on context? And of course, content creation is important, where Arpit and Vinita has really put a lot of efforts. But context as well as the data side. How are you guys solving it, and how you see it can be distributed if beyond Bobble also?
No, definitely. But coming back to the discussion that we were having, I just want to say something out here. Content can be an eyeball grabber, right? But is it taking it to the right audience? I mean, I remember seeing a fantastic storyline created on YouTube for one Vivo campaign that I've seen, right? But probably I may not be the right audience for the contextual, right? So context is not, I mean, content can be an eyeball catcher, but at the same time, it cannot be something which can be actionable, right? So, we at Bobble believe that, we are actually sitting at two sides of things, right? Because we being a consumer tech company, we need to have a content also in the forms of stickers and emoticons and, giving out a lot of personalization. So we do create that content. Why? Because that engagement is required. But this is within the product. When we're talking about advertising industry as a whole, right? I think this is chicken and egg story, right? Because the content complement the context, right? And context complement the content, right? So
Agree.
how you take it, right? But yes, while this third party thing is going away, like players like Chingaris were very good at content, right? The consumption of the content is very important. Now, who's going to consume the content, right? That is more important part, right? So anybody who sees for a first time may not be a consumer also as well, right? Like I said about Vivo, right? Now, it's like fighting against TikToks or, being to the line of TikToks, right? Your TG is defined in your mind group that, hey, 18 to 45 is what my TG is, where, my content has to be well distributed. But how do you reach them? So everybody gives you an age, everybody gives you a gender, but they don't give you an interest, right? And that is where the context is required, right? Those micro movements are the battlegrounds for brands, right? Because until unless you don't know those movements, you can't synonymize or sort of create that impact of the content as well, right? So I think these are all intent. Uh, what we feel is that the conversation the way it is happening right now, and that's the reason we are very very sort of firm in the belief that this is going to happen, because 40 billion hours spent on 40 billion MAUs which are happening around conversation, 80 billion hours spent on WhatsApp, right, by the Indian users. Everything has been talked about on the conversations, right? And every conversation derives some sort of an intent, and that intent derives a decision as well, right? So those movements has to be converted, and that is where we say that a right context is required, right, at movement. So I'll give an example, right? There are a lot of I mean, programmatic is one way of reaching out to the right. It can be managed, it can be programmatic, but I always feel programmatic is better. Why? Because you're able to control and have a lot of visibilities, right, into your targeting. But at the same time, who you're targeting, right? So take an example of a DMP. So let's say I, as a user, generated a footprint on some website or an app that I'm carving for a pizza right now, right? So I talk to someone, hey, hungry, ordering pizza from Zomato or McDonald's, right? Sorry, Domino's, right? Now, if let's say in a regular environment as to how this industry operates right now, this information from a third party is taken to a DMP, then DMP synchronizes data into their database. Then they have created a persona of the user who is hungry for pizza or somebody who likes pizza. And after a month, they get a demand from Domino's that hey, they want to serve people who are really sort of hungry for pizza, or they look out for pizza. By the time that short-lived intent would have died, right? So if during the content, during the conversation, if that intent highlights or broadcast, right, that is the right moment when the ad could be served to the user saying that 50% discount on pizza if you're in Delhi.
Right.
So then the action is going to happen. So everything can't boils down to a segment, right? But when this segment is active, is something which needs to be understood by the advertiser as well, right? Given an example, like I think my friend from MPL was talking about, how we going to change this, right? Because they have not even opted for these interest-based targeting at all, or a segment-based targeting. But we need to understand that there is a little gap, right? Advertising is one front, but then having an insight on the user, their historical journey, and then putting a right advertisement across when the intent is there, right? you need to qualify all these parameters to create your advertising plan, right? That is more important. And I feel that that is where first party data, my first party data married to MPL on their first party data. So I become a second party data owner for them. I can give them synopsis that, hey, your MPL guy is actually on Dream 11 as well. So I have this information that, maybe he's interacting one session per week with you, but at the same time, he's interacting at least 3 sessions with Dream 11 right now.
Right.
So he's not a heavy user, or probably he doesn't have MPL right now, but only has Dream 11, right? And every ICC day he's active doing something. So why can't you basically acquire this customer? So that is where the context becomes very prominent, right, on the data itself. So this is what my point is. I mean, it's a wide conversation, but at the same time, if I had to just, this is what my
I think great. I think Tabrez, you mentioned it very, very aptly that movements that micro movements really make that, amazing content. And then obviously, distributing, either through form of stickers or some of the other mediums, bring that delight to the end consumer. And thanks for putting up some light, how this can be done, maybe using Bobble or some of the other platforms also. Setu, I'll come back to you because I'm a Go Mechanic user, and I know how great you guys have done on the movement marketing of service related issues, and and how you use creators. But I'll come to Apaksh first. Apaksh, you've been working with around 300 plus brands. Of course, so many stories out there. How today you feel creators are creating this sort of a amazing level of content, and they are then distributing it in a more contextual manner on various other platforms. And what do you hear from so many other brands which are there, and how are they using today the programmatic world?
Thanks, Shank. I think I've really enjoyed what different folks here have had to bring to the table, and I was parallelly building some of my own thoughts on top of it. I've had this unique opportunity in the last 4 years to have spoken to about 1,000 odd CXOs for companies in various categories, for companies who've raised between 2 million to a few $100 million, for companies who've just about 6 months old to about a few decades old, such as a Unilever, right? So I think this is one of the most common questions, right, where it comes to, hey, we want to work with creators. What do we do, right? Should we create lots of content? Should we create few pieces of content? Should we go with big creators, small creators? What should be the communication be, right? I think one of the things that I've just come to sort of derive over my hundreds of conversations as a fundamental sort of thesis is that there are two scales, right? There's a scale of content, there's a scale of context. Everything you consume, every piece of digital content you consume has some context attached to it. In an ideal scenario for a marketer, the ideal scenario is the best content with the best context, because best content would drive longevity, long-term brand building. Best context would drive action. But typically when you want to go to the top of the scale for both, it will mean cost, it will mean a lot of other things, right? So what you try to do is find a balance between content and context, depending on what your objective is. If your objective is actionability, right, you will say, hey, I want to go for bigger, say, stronger context, but content I'm fine with because I want to drive action, and the content will die over time. But if you want to do, say, brand building, like Arpit said, right, like MPL is investing in a 6-month, 12-month perspective, right? I think the goal here is to build a long-term brand. I think that's when they'll care a little bit less about what the context of the conversation might be immediately, but they'll care more about the quality of content and the engagement that content can drive from a long-term perspective, versus like a lot of D2C brands who've just started their journey. At that stage, they don't really care about the quality of the content or the long-term brand building. They typically care about the actionability they can immediately drive for the money they're investing. And they'll be like, hey, I'm okay as long as the content is fine and short-term, but I care more about the context so that it can drive action and traffic and sales for me. And those are the numbers I need. So I think it's a question of where you are in your stage, the kind of sort of investment that you're able to make, the kind of problem statement you are in your life cycle. Obviously, the ideal scenario being the best of both, but I think it's a fine balance depending on who you are, I think Vinita beautifully mentioned, right? I think I've worked with TikTok as I think one of the largest partners. We work with Instagram. We work with almost all social networks in India very closely. I think one of the things I've come to learn from social networks is that they care most about content, because for them the biggest currency is the user time that they spend on the platform.
True.
Context comes into picture when they want to go into monetizing the platform. So
Absolutely.
until monetization comes in heavy, context is of lower sense than content, right? So I think it's really about the nature of the category, the scale of the business, the scale of money that you have, or the investment that you want to make. But it's just a beautiful melange of both that you have to figure out. And if you can figure out, I think that fine balance is when you get amazing results.
Great. I think perfectly well summarized, Apaksh, and really like it that the way you said that both content and context, has a scale, and depending upon where the brand journey is, you have to define what you want as an action, whether that action is less or more. But Setu, to you out there, I think great work done from both content and context play, and how you've built, I think, thousands of videos out there in each and every city. Could you put some highlight there how you have used and distributed that, I think, on WhatsApp, Facebook? I don't think any channel that you have left distributing those amazing videos of service related issues.
Yeah, I think Apaksh beautifully mentioned it, that the mix of content or context depends a lot on the scale of the company. When we started, and the view that we have inside Go Mechanic is marketing is nothing but sales at scale, right? So when we started, we didn't have any marketing channel, right? We had a call center. We didn't have even a website, functional checkout quali website, or a mobile app. These customers would call us, we would take their numbers, we would call them back, and from that data we accumulated what sort of context is behind these customers. So these customers are primarily people who have 3+ years old cars or second-hand cars. These customers are 25 to 40-year-old males living in tier 1 cities, mostly around NCR, where they've heard about it. Right. We got the understanding that these people are primarily looking for an economy and not so much on convenience. And then we started running campaigns which will target precisely these customers through Google CPC ads. That's primarily where we started. The Google CPC ad will land these customers on a website, a lead page. People will fill in their lead details. We will call them up and we'll take their car and we will serve them. Right, from taking up their car to servicing it to getting it back. The focus, even though we were offering convenience, people were not coming to us for convenience. They were coming to us for the economy, right? And we knew it. And initially, all the marketing communication that will go out will just talk about economy. We'll just talk about how economical we are. We'll talk about, here's a small phone number. You don't need to download any app. You don't need to sort of fill in any form. Here's a phone number, just call us, right? It's only once we went a step ahead, we had a little more funding, we had a little more money, and we wanted to go and talk to people in different cities in Bombay, because we knew that there's similar people living in Bombay, there's similar people living in Pune, there's similar people living in Bangalore, people who come from outside, who want to get their car service, which is 3+ years old, and who are 25 to 40 years old. They don't know a great mechanic around their vicinity, and they will love to use our service. And we had an understanding, and we used and found those channels, again, focus a lot on context. And the communication, the content was very, very, I would say, limited. Economy, right? That phase passed on, and we sort of kept on moving ahead. We realized that now we need to go to a market. So that once that market is captured, which was looking for economy, and we had perfected our app, we had sort of put every mechanic in the workshop on a mobile app, and every mechanic could be tracked, and every sort of customer can see what is happening to their car. Then we started focusing on convenience, because we started gathering a lot of customer feedback around the fact that how convenient it is to use Go Mechanic. So as Apaksh earlier mentioned, that it depends on the scale of the company. We had reached to a point wherein now we could offer people the fact that it's so convenient. We will be your ears and eyes on the ground. You don't need to come to a garage shop, right? And that's when we started talking to a lot of influencers, because now is time to sort of make it big, because a lot of people who are not looking for economy, people who sort of work in their regular IT jobs, they're not specifically looking for just economy. They're looking for a brand which will take care of all of their hassles. And then we started reaching out to them. Then we started talking to them. And this also happened at multiple iterations and with different scales. So initially we would reach out to them. Then we partner with agencies, and these agencies will reach out to them. Then we partner with bigger agencies which will have managers, and these managers will manage these influencers. So that happened. We figured out that the ads that we were earlier running for CPC, that moved on and became ads which were running on performance campaigns, right? So ads which will target a purchase. Then we started focusing a lot more on remarketing. Like earlier, it was possible to do third-party advertising campaigns. Now Facebook is a little restricted, but we did really well in third-party advertisement. And so ours has been a journey, and currently where we are right now, we feel that even right now, for example, we have this understanding that if you will go to YouTube, and if CoinSwitch is doing an ad with Ranveer Singh, right, or if there's another ad with Amitabh Bachchan, we will still have to compete with the ads which have an amazing sort of content delivery and which are applicable to all the users irrespective of context, right? When you talk about apna time aayega, or when you talk about the context wherein kuch to badlega, then you're not necessarily pitching any value proposition. What you're telling is just download it and something will happen. Wherein ours will be very limited. And so we still feel that we have to go to the say top right corner of content and context. We're not there right now. We have limited context wherein we can reach out to customers, but we can improvise on our content quality. And that's where you have been seeing we are doing campaigns with bigger influencers now, with celebrities now, because we believe that we are at that stage.
Amazing.
Right now.
Amazing. I think, quietly well said, Setu. I think you guys have distributed your content in the form of ads and then pushed it across on various platforms. And what you said is converted that CPCT into performance. That means you've started getting better conversions because of these form of ads. Summing up, guys, I have few questions. Of course, we have limited time. Of course, we can continue to speak about new trends, but I would ask first quickly from Arpit and Vanita, there is this live streaming, game streaming and live streaming, which is, coming up, and we continue to see that it is growing rapidly in India and globally. So, what you see, as from a brand perspective, also from a platform perspective, you're using that as a channel today to build content or context, out there. Arpit, maybe from you, and then quickly Vanita. We may have just one minute, so a quick line from you guys would be great.
Yeah, sure. So we started this using live streaming, and we call it broadcasting. So there's a slight difference between the two. So we don't use the stream as it is. We add a layer of say commentary, some effects, some music and all, and we make it an interesting broadcast. And we started doing this broadcasting thing from last 1 year. And when we started, we first thought that we'll just use it as a medium of broadcasting and just letting people know about the context that we are also in this business and start getting some more awareness. But very soon we realized the true potential of these feeds. And we also realized during this journey that this is much more contextual rather than the content that we are creating. And these people who are creating the content, these are our micro or nano influencers. Right. And this has changed the outlook, how we are looking at this overall live streaming. And now we are looking at it as a very potential form of marketing tool. Just like we put in efforts and we put in monies to create our marketing content assets for our mainstream media. This is exactly the same thing, but this is user generated content, and this getting produced at a much more larger mass scale and with much more variety as well, because there are people coming in from different parts of the country with different languages, different states, and they are addressing their own niche set of audiences.
Right.
So hence, we have started investing in products like broadcaster dashboards and all. Like anyone can become a broadcaster. They can just log into the particular dashboard. They can enroll on it free of cost, start recording stuff from their mobile, and then start distributing it. And we also have plans to monetize them and incentivize them to do that. So yeah, it's a big part of our journey. And who knows, like going forward, we might just start using these assets only for marketing and stop making brand films altogether.
Great. I think MPL may become an ad platform soon. Vinita, what's your take on live streaming, and of course, how Chingari has been using it.
Yeah, I believe recently there was an article that China has started live streaming, and that's a lot of growth that app has seen. Recently that was pictured. So yes, of course, that's the next step. That's a big future that we are planning to, in terms of creators, also in terms of meeting their fans also. So if we split this into how we are looking at live streaming onto the platform, it would be creator meets commerce or creator meets interactive fans. That's the two field that can be explored more. You will hear soon from us because it's all work in progress. But yes, that's the highlight that we are looking forward for.
And I guess you guys have also launched Gary Token, which is, would be one of the first innovation would have been done in India towards, helping creators, making more money, just not from the ad or brand-led content. So, congratulations for that. Been hearing a lot of news around that. I'm sure this would be great success, and it'll take Chingari from, from what it is today to, one of the most monetized platform for creators.
Ishang, weren't you just waiting to ask me this on Gary?
No, I was not, but I just wanted to bring that context.
No, thank you so much. Yes, the Gari token has really got up a lot of storm. There is a lot of buzz around it. There was the initial round of tier 2, tier 3 sale that has happened. The second round of public sale, which has recently happened. But as I'll leave that for later discussion.
Other discussion, right? Great. Yeah. I'll come to Tabraiz and Setu and then last with Apaksh, ending it with Tabraiz and Setu. It's very important what you said towards moment marketing, and I think Tabraiz beautifully said how this can be built along with programmatic channel, and this is a live example how Go Mechanic is doing that movement marketing related to their surveys, related to their products, related to the consumer out there. Tabraiz, would you like to put some light there? How movement marketing today playing a very, very important role. Conversation is playing a very important role today.
Yeah. So like I said that, every day your audience is, filling the days with hundreds, if not thousands of micro moments, right? Those are intent rich moments. And like I said, the preferences are well shaped. The decisions are made by the marketers basis those micro moments. Now, these moments can happen almost anytime, anywhere, right? You're not certain about it. And, you can't control the ASR, but obviously, that's going to come in picture in later stages. But within the communication, I think this is already present, right? Because the way people are expressing in the conversation, that's the reason I said it becomes a medium. It's not from the perspective of bubble only, right? Because, you see the Gen Zs, the millennials, right? They're more into, expressing themselves through the conversation, right? That is the virtual, world they have built for themselves, right? And these are your, target PGs, right? Or if I had to say the future customer as well. Now, for Vinita or anybody who's doing a content, right? These are the relevant people. So, I mean, for me, I always feel that, the customer journey is very non-linear, right? It's non-linear when I say it's like a bumblebee effect, right? The audience are, constantly interacting with different medias, different messages. Where it strike them, you don't know, right? I mean, you can have your own assumption in terms of building up that everybody is available on Facebook or TikTok, Medium is the one, but you can't predict that where the conversions are going to happen, right? So how do you build that funnel, right? Is very important. It's very hard to plan the non-linear purchase path, but right. But I think, like I said, programmatic advertising is long bundled with the right context for the audiences can enable brands to reach to the right person, right? Deliver a right message at the moment of the opportunity. So that is required. I mean, that's something brand can use programmatic to basically sort of assemble consumer micro movements and bring them into the right way. Like, it's like almost like joining a puzzle pieces together, right? Where you have context, you have intent, you have, the right person, the right content, right? And that is something which we need to plan, right? And it's not, I mean, I know this is a, sort of a statement that I was hearing that, it could be a cost intensive, right? Probably it's not, right? Because if you are planning everything together, it may not be, because that is how, programmatic helps you in terms of, getting your delivery at a very cost effective manner at the right platform, right? So I think, these micro moments, the intents are going to help brands a lot, right? And bundled with the right first party data, not the entire universe, I think it could be a game changer, right? That's how I look at this on the future of advertising.
Great, great. Setu, from you, how you use movement marketing, a quick line, maybe that would be great, in terms of, as a channel, and now you're moving towards that as a full-fledged approach.
So a lot of our budget has shifted towards performance marketing, as I had been sharing earlier. We have started to use languages or the most popular services in a certain geography also as a way to figure out, as a way to differentiate different ad campaigns that we are running in different geographies. So for example, if Chandigarh as sort of market uses English as a language in which the communication should happen in the ad, and this can be gauged from the response that you are getting. This can be gauged from the cost per conversion on the campaigns that we are getting. And if in Chandigarh, the most popular services is roadside assistance, we try and run those sort of campaigns in for those sort of target customers. So even though target customers are precisely defined, now we are defining the communication that should happen. What should that communication talk about more precisely in that geography? What we have also sort of tried and do lately is we have tried to divide the audience into different phases of their awareness, interest, desire, and action cycle. And we have figured that certain stages are optimally covered. For example, desire and action stages, wherein we have the right in-app tools to send notifications again. We have the right understanding to tell them that it's been 3 months since you last did your car service. Why don't you sort of purchase it again? But there's a lot more work that needs to be done on the awareness front. There's a lot more work that needs to be done on referral front, because it's a discretionary purchase. It's not an indiscretionary purchase. People will order our services only when they will need it. And if a friend has put in a word, they will still remember it 3 months later and they will try it out, but they will forget the ad. Right. So understanding the context wherein we operate from and the gaps that we still have to go and fulfill are the ones that we are working towards.
Got it. Great. Maybe because Apaksh, we have less time, we'll come up with 2 important questions. These are all rapid, quick answer questions that I would love to hear from you. So from a person perspective, what do you choose? Content first or context first? So we'll start off with, let's say, Arpit first. Content, context, Arpit.
Context.
Vinita, content or context?
Content, always content.
Content. Apaksh, content, context.
I'll go with context.
Okay, great. Tabrez?
Context, anytime.
Great. Setu, from you, content first or context first?
Context, especially in the market that we are in.
Amazing, great. So I firmly also believe that it's context first, and then and content is derived from that. But a lot of platforms today are moving towards content first approach, and I think that would be a game changer in the coming world. I mean, there are new emerging trends which we are seeing, for the coming decade, and you may have seen Facebook turning themselves into meta world. There is a Web 3.0 world which is coming up. VR, AR, metaverse, smart TVs, OTT platforms anyways have been growing. Digital OOH is there. So, which one you are most excited as brand owners or, as platform creators, which one you see, are the most one. So, Setu, we'll start off from you. Which one you feel, maybe 2 of them, which one you feel is the best one, or you would love to use it over a period of time?
I think for non-physical services, I'm not talking about ride sharing or I'm not talking about car services. Web 3.0 is really exciting. But for products and services which have a real world utility, I still believe that these channels don't exactly will help transition a lot of marketing budget. It will happen when the users will switch there for digital purchases. Then
Right.
it might happen, but right now these emerging channels will work great for products which are completely digital nature.
Yeah, I mean, we would love to see how car is being serviced in Go Mechanic store in a virtual reality world, right? So that is what
Only if
I, yeah,
only if you've got VR headsets or AR glasses.
yeah, of
Right?
course. That's a decade down the line.
Yeah, yeah.
Arpit, from you, which one are you most excited?
So I'm
And
somewhere I agree with Setu that these AR VR things are still a long way to go. Still, there will be a lot of development that will happen in the coming decade. But one thing I'm most excited is about the digital OH and the smart TVs coming in, because the inventory is very fastly moving towards it. Not very in a very huge chunk of monies, but at least there are initiatives. Google is pushing it very firmly. So I think in the next decade, we will see more unification of your marketing spends as well as thought. Like we always have been working a traditional way of performance versus brand and something. But I think there is a unification that is going to come along with introduction of these new channels in the marketing mix.
digital OH and smart TVs. Apaksh, Vinita, from you guys, maybe Apaksh from you first.
Yeah, Shank, I think I find it exciting that back in 2012, I wrote an article, it's still there on the web somewhere, which is exactly what I think Zuckerberg said in 2019. So I take a lot of pride in I was thinking 7 years ahead. But the fact that I think the other two gentlemen very rightly put that we're a decade away from that ecosystem where AR, VR, or even metaverse can really start to enable marketing budgets or marketeers to communicate better. But I think that shift is bound to happen. I think the world has taken sort of a mandate to move there, and when the leaders of the world are sort of very well aligned to get there, so I think that shift will happen much faster than we imagined. So excited to see what AR, VR, or Meta has to offer to us. I think that's the new way of creation and consumption. That's definitely indoor for us.
Amazing, amazing. Vinita, which one you're betting on? Smart TVs, OTTs? Of course, those are your competitions, but which one you feel is the next one for you?
Looking at the creators, the influencers, the market that we cater to, I think it's arrived sooner than we expected. Also, the AR VR definitely.
Right, amazing, great. Tabrez, last one from you. Yeah, right.
I'll go along with Arpit, right? I think digital OH, because since I'm already working on that, so I know there's a practical experience.
Right.
Mapping the digital to a physical world, right? I've already done that. So that's going to be the new KPI in terms of mapping the performance of the campaign. Probably somebody seeing an ad on mobile, and whether he went to the store or not, that's one part of mapping the entire journey of the user. Secondly, is in terms of the audiences in and around airport seeing the relevant ads, right? We'll not only see the auto ads over there probably. So that's going to change. And obviously, the second thing which I feel is smart TV, right? The way the market, we've still been struggling to have a right solution for a cross device. But at the same time, the connected TV is something which can solve the problem, at least in terms of, mapping the right users. So that's what my vote is for.
Great. So creators moving towards more engaging world, which is, AR and VR and metaverse, because they can do a lot, but the brands want to move towards smart TVs and OH because, they want the ROAS at the end of the day. They want to see the sale happening. It's pleasure to have all of you guys. I think just to sum it up, context always win over content. I would love to see content winning it up. Some of the things that I learned during this session is micro movements, which is very, very important from a brand perspective. How today creators are being used in the programmatic world, building ads out of creator economy and then positioning your product with micro or small or nano creators and then distributing it across various channels. From Arpit, I think great to see live streaming. You've been using it to broadcast it and some of the new things which MPL maybe continue to use it. I would love to see MPL as an ad platform over years for sure. And I think Tabrez and Vinita, great to have you again. And thanks everybody, from the audience perspective. I hope we could have given you some perspective of what's happening in this world of programmatic side. And I wish you all the best, each one of you. Thank you so much, and everybody, to be part of this session.
Thank you everyone for delving into this topic and imparting some very important updates. Dear viewers, please share all the learnings on social media using the hashtag #ETMarketechAsia. Now we'll head to the next session. Stay with us.